program. Today I would like to read an article which will take 2 to 3 episodes to read. Today is part 1 and the article is titled The Origin of the Macedonians. Many writers investigated the origin of the Macedonians in their own way and have as a result arrived at different conclusions, often in conflict with one another. This subject is of vital significance to us Macedonians, for we want to know whether or not our ancestors were Greek. Much more so because allied with it is another question of equal importance, namely, whether Greece has any inherent rights upon Macedonia, or whether, in the absence of such historical or ethnological rights, Macedonia can be considered a property without an owner where anybody can stake his or her claim. The Greek origin of the Macedonians, or rather, the homogeneity of the Greeks and the Macedonians, are proven by the history of the settlement of the Indo-Europeans in Europe, particularly the South Group, i.e. the Thracians, the Greeks and the Illyrians in the Balkan Peninsula. The Thracians, having arrived first, occupied the eastern part of the peninsula and Macedonia. The Greeks probably came after the Thracians about 2500 BC, making their way through the valleys of Axios, the Morava and the mountainous passes of Illyria. They stopped at the western part of the Balkan Peninsula and Macedonia, which was seized from the Thracians. This land has been their station and was Aryan Greek for many centuries before southern Greece became Greek. Further movements to the south were obstructed by the chain of the Cambunian mountains and Olympus. It was then that they built in Aphaxitis and further south the cities of Idomeni, Europus, Atalante, Gordinia, Ichne and Dion. About 5 centuries later, the Thracians regained central Macedonia, as a result of which some Greek tribes, such as the Ionians and Achaeans, occupying the aforementioned cities, were forced to submit but retained the names of their native towns, while others moved southward and built new cities by the same names in various parts, especially in Arcadia, where, according to Strabo, only Achaeans settled. Others, such as the Penistei of northern Macedonia, who spoke an archaic dialect, settled in Sicily, having left behind them the name of the old country, Penistia, in its original seat. In the 13th century before Christ, the Illyrians penetrated the westernmost parts of the Balkan Peninsula. They occupied Penistia and the territory up to the Genusos River, as shown by the folklore before, during and after Strabo, up to this very day. According to an ancient tradition, the town of Pilon, near Lake Lychnidis, formed the meeting point of the boundaries of Macedonia and Illyria. This territory has also been known under the name of Dassaretia and constituted the outermost limit of Macedonia and Epirus, at least during the Greco-Roman period. The Illyrian incursion and pressure forced out many Eordians from the plain of the Eordian River, who settled in another plain near the lake of the ancient Adnissa in western Macedonia. This territory was known thereafter as Eordia or Eldea, which was derived from the Eordians. We shall continue further with this topic next week, but before I conclude for today's program, I would like to mention very briefly why it is important for children in Australia to learn another language. Why it is important for children to learn the modern Greek language. There are many powerful arguments for introducing a second language at the very start of a child's learning journey. Today, I would like to very briefly mention one of these arguments, one of these reasons. One of the benefits of second language learning is the effect it has on brain function. Modern optical imaging technology captures brain activity, and research has shown that the bilingual brain behaves differently to that of the single language learner. Studies show, dear friends, that bilingual, which means those who can speak two languages, children, demonstrate greater creativity, cognitive development, and divergent thinking than monolingual children. The work of researcher Andrea Michelli of London's Department of Imaging Neuroscience discovered that the brain of bilingual people develops more densely, which gives it an advantage in various abilities and skills. Michelli's research explains the nature of the two types of tissue visible to the naked eye, termed grey and white matter. Bilingual speakers had denser grey matter, especially in areas of language, memory, and attention, compared with monolingual participants. Michelli's work showed that this was especially evident in participants who had begun their second language learning at or before age 5. In subsequent programs, dear friends, we shall continue looking at the benefits of children in Australia learning the modern Greek language. Μέχρι την άλλη εβδομάδα, Χριστός Ανέστη, καλή δύναμη και κουράγιο σε σένα Γιάννη, και μέχρι την επόμενη εβδομάδα να είστε πάντοτε καλά.
Ευχαριστούμε.